There are creatures science refuses to recognize. If our eyes see it, if our cameras capture it, does it exist? Do you believe? Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of Scary Stories We Tell. I am your host, Chris Dashew, and I am joined by two of my good friends. Well, I guess I'm joined by Jess Byard, co-host of the show.
Wow.
What? I don't understand.
I was here and you were on the first season, and now I'm here and you're on the third season. It's a wildly different show.
Yeah, fuck. We'll have to talk about that a little bit. But also joined, as always, in these Lost Tapes Chronicles by your friend and mine, man about town, the artist among men, Maggie the Odd.
Hey, gang.
The Three Dudes podcast, and it's happening.
Dudes, we decided that we're inevitably going to become the grumpy old men. So,
I mean, I've been waiting to do a podcast where we just talk about random shit, and maybe we'll finally figure out how to do it. Because this show talks about random shit, but I'm talking about things that are less even themed than our show gets.
Right.
But on this episode of the Lost Tapes Chronicles, we are going to be talking about the fourth episode of the third season of Lost Tapes. My God, how we've strayed so far from God's loving light. We don't even give a shit about cryptids anymore. On this episode, we're talking about Poltergeist? ? Exclamation point. Yeah.
I think we're talking about paranormal activity.
God, aren't we? Holy shit. Yeah. So before we talk about the episode, Jess, like you mentioned, I want to say the first 2-3 episodes of Lost Tapes were as far as you got with the show, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember do you remember when you stopped watching the show?
I don't. I remember, I think I watched like through the half of the second season, maybe.
Okay. But the show's markedly different now, wouldn't you say?
Entirely different.
Is it weird coming back to the show towards the end of this third season and kind of not having a frame? Because like the show is so different now.
Yeah, I mean, when I started it, and I at first I thought I had turned on I clicked on the wrong show, and
Sure.
that it was like some type of ghost hunter show that I had accidentally clicked on. I was like, oh, Poltergeist, okay. But yeah, I was very taken aback that, again, the intro isn't there anymore.
Boy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like it's very, very apparent why they got rid of it. Like,
and they appear, at least in this episode, I can't speak to the other ones that have been in the season so far, but they're trying to make it like when I was first here for it, it was more like a news broadcast type situation. And now it seems like they're actually, at least for this episode, trying to make it seem like it was a real, like as it's happening, capturing this footage, kind of not going back to like find the footage or whatever.
The show in the third season, I think you would agree, Maggie. I think the show has taken its foot off the gas of found footage. It's not found. I guess the question becomes, and Mark Begley and I were talking about this when we talked about Cloverfield on my other show, the Culture Cast. Found footage means that the footage in the framework of the narrative has to be found by on the ground, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I would agree, which kind of puts the narrative at odds with stakes, because then you're like, well, if it's just being found on the ground, then how are there stakes with the story? Aren't those people just dead then?
Right.
And you've seen people subvert that kind of expectation on various things we've seen where it's like, no, they didn't actually die, or they dropped it, or whatever, any number of variations you can do without killing your main characters.
Correct.
But yeah, this show has changed its narrative format a lot, kind of overnight. Like for the zombie episode was a clear line of demarcation where the show was like, and now it's something else completely.
There was a zombie episode.
Yeah, there was. It is as,
like,
you know what?
Zombies is real?
Yeah, it is. Yes, it is. And it's not only, it's voodoo zombies, but also the brain eating kind at the same time. Oh. It's not as exciting as it sounds, I promise.
Like the voodoo thing at least makes sense.
And that's why it was the lesser of their intakes.
Yeah. It's
made too much sense.
So what year is this?
This is 2010. which is kind of mind blowing to me, right? Because this show started in 2008. In October of 2008. And this episode, the Poltergeist episode is premiering October 5th of 2010. It premieres with the third episode. So the third and fourth episode came out at the same time, and the first and second episode came out. So to answer the question that you're about to ask, Jess, yes, this came out 3 years after Paranormal Activity.
And which is weird. Like you think because 2010 was kind of getting away from the found footage stuff.
I guess. I mean, Paranormal Activity came out in so let's take this back. Paranormal Activity came out in 2009.
Right.
This is a year after.
Okay, so that makes sense.
Yeah, yes, but like it is so obvious what it's ripping off. It's not even attempting to pretend.
Nope.
That it's anything else. Like it's just like, yes, you know what you're getting into.
Kinda. Even then.
Yeah. God. Oh my God.
Well, I was just really confused to them because they still do have those stupid, like little type of news interview segments. Like
stupid? Wait. Excuse you? You mean the facts? The animal facts, Jess? Maggie and I enjoy the facts. I
know, but poltergeists aren't animals. So
I was going to say now, if you're talking specifically about poltergeist facts, then this is a fucking stretch.
I miss the animal facts. I miss the weird facts.
And that's the thing. I am having a hard time kind of separating the two because, like you mentioned, Jess, the first episode of this show is about the chupacabra. It is about a cryptid in Mexico that is one of the big 4 or 5. I think we talked about that on the last episode, Maggie.
Yeah.
And now we've come so far that we are at poltergeists, which are not. Again, maybe it's just me being a pain in the ass or a hard ass drawing a line here, but I don't like that they kind of in this season have really gone away from the cryptid stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw it with the last season with the alien episode. We saw that, and that was its own kind of like really stupid take on aliens. It was more like a bug, Jess. It was like a bug that flew around and like it infected people, I think, and then it got away.
Well, okay, so
they let it loose.
If you want to do that, then like do multiple episodes on different types of aliens, like the reptilian alien, like that.
Well, hold on, don't ask for that because you're getting it by the end of this season of the show.
You will be.
Jess, give us the reptilians. So you don't want it. Don't ask for that. You're gonna get it, and you're not gonna like it. But all right.
Can we just talk about the opening sequence of this episode?
Do we have to?
And where the girl is emailing her friends.
What are you doing? Emailing your friends?
By a shelf.
Yeah. So this
you told me this is 2010 also because I was thinking this was like 2006 or some shit.
Oh my god!
Levels too.
Like it just it feels really outdated. Like it does, like the way it looks, the way
it felt outdated at the time, right?
Exactly.
It had to. Like this, like it's you're right. You know, we obviously 3 of us are close in age. I think Jess, you and I are the same age. I think Maggie, right? We're all the same age. So we all graduated in 2008. This feels like 2001. Like, what the fuck is this? Like, this is not what 2010 was, right?
So 2008.
Yep.
It's like, this was 2 years after I graduated high school. Like, really?
Yeah. They slid hard.
That's the thing. You know, I remember seeing the first season of this show on TV live, but I didn't keep up with it past that. So this is all brand new to me. If I had seen this in 2010, I feel like it would have felt dated then. There's no way it wouldn't have.
It's a cheap knockoff. It's like going to freaking Dollar General and seeing the action figures for G.I. Joe, but it's just
Action
like
Force.
War Man. Yeah. Yeah. Where it's like, who the fuck is this? And it's ripping off not only G.I. Joe, but like Mortal Kombat a little bit.
We
too.
have Poltergeist at home is what this is. I mean,
exactly.
this is we have Paranormal Activity at home so hard. Because we have a family, but the kid is troubled and the kid is making things happen, which is not Paranormal Activity.
And also not how poltergeists work, I didn't think.
Well, yeah, because a poltergeist, the German word,
is a malevolent entity.
Right. That's attracted to teenagers.
Oh, attracted by also.
Attracted by, yeah. The poltergeist is sitting in the corner rubbing its nipples. It's like,
Yes, I love these dumbasses.
But like, there's this weird thing where it's like poltergeists are attracted to teenagers because I guess they're experiencing a lot of emotional
I think that's
trauma.
Yeah, sure. I guess we'll say that. Is that why they were attracted to the house in Poltergeist, or was it the fact that they were buried over bodies, or that they had a house over bodies?
You can't give both explanations as the facts. Like one or the other has to be the case. Can't be both.
I mean, talk about drama, though.
Well, that's the thing. Like I like the idea of Poltergeist being like drawn to emotional turmoil, but like that just doesn't. Like that suits this narrative, but then it doesn't because like things just start happening that make no sense whatsoever at all.
Turmoil too isn't like anything out of the ordinary of a typical teenage and middle school aged brother and sister. Like it's not like they're having explosive fights and that the kid is like spiraling and
or like The Conjuring, where it was like a whole like diagnosis type of situation where you're dealing with this inevitability in connection with death. Yeah. This is just kind of loony. They kind of spun a roulette wheel every 5 minutes and just went on a limb for it.
Now it's a guy who killed his wife is haunting the house. Now it's first it's the kid killing. Like it's like they make it out to be in this first kind of cold open because now the show does a cold open.
Yes. Yeah. Right. Every episode. Thank you. I hate it.
Yeah, not a fan of the cold open because they haven't done anything with it of value. It's just very generic and like steering into every trope. Like at this point, I expect when I know what the episode is going to be about that I can like throw out a couple tropes that it's probably going to do. And it will maybe do one or two of them. And like, but that's more than enough because you should be holding yourself to a higher standard than just doing, you're going to have the poltergeist knock things over and it's going to fuck with the kid more than anybody else. Like, but and then they find some newspapers that say, there's a guy in this house who killed his wife and they killed himself. And that's the poltergeist. Like, that's not what you said 5 minutes ago though. Like,
right now that just makes me want to like write a dummy script trying to predict the next episode. Like, fuck it. And then I'll just read it. That'll be our cold open. And then you can do the intro and then it'll be completely different. It'll be awesome, Chris.
I mean, you know what? I feel like maybe I spoke too soon. Devil Monkey.
Yep.
Maybe I spoke to Jess's face is exactly mine.
Just saying. I am so stoked for Devil Monkey. I'm going to write the best script for Devil Monkey.
Are we going to Temple of Doom for the Devil Monkey?
Well, see, that's the thing. On Wikipedia, if you go and look up the show, it has it broken out by episode, and it has the title of the episode, and then it has the creature that the episode is talking about in a next column. And in a lot of times, it's like poltergeist, and the text is blue, and you can click through it to a page on Poltergeist where you can do all the research your heart desires about Poltergeist. Devil Monkey has nothing, just like the Oklahoma octopus. Like some of them don't have anything.
I love it.
I guess it wasn't the Oklahoma octopus. It was a giant anaconda. And it's like, so it's just
it's an anaconda.
Big snake. Yeah.
Anaconda.
Yeah, I wonder is Devil Monkey just gonna be is it like a monkey? Is like a monkey with rabies?
Monkey shines. That's what it is.
Oh man, no, you guys aren't even gonna guess. I'm gonna make it so legit. I'm gonna even throw in an animal fact.
Oh, see, that's the thing.
It's legit. I am gonna write this script tonight, Chris.
That's what the show is missing. The show is missing a care to detail of people who actually care.
Yeah, well, that's what I was gonna say. Is who is this show even for at this point? Because you're doing it seems like they're skewing into trying to have some sort of cinematic quality to each episode, to these newer episodes, like doing this pseudo, paranormal investigation shit.
Right.
So if you're doing that, your goal is to attract the Paranormal Activity crew.
For this specific episode. Oh, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But overall, the topic and tone of this show is confusing because... Go for it.
Oh, no, I have a theory on that one because I think it's just one of those classic cases during this era of TV and even like the early thousands, like they did not know how to market to teens. And this feels like one of those weird attempts where it's like, whoops, I mean, they watch the stupid movie, so they're going to watch this.
Well, definitely at the end of the first season, remember the Hellhound episode? That felt like exactly. Hello, fellow kids, big time.
Royally, dude. Yeah. Exactly. I think that's what they were going for. They just have no idea how to connect to teenagers.
But also this is an Animal Planet show. So the most like your demographic of people watching it are either children or older people.
Right. Well, and that's the thing that I
see it in the earlier seasons when they
were animals.
Exactly. They were animals. They took a more like unsolved mysteries, whatever approach to it, where it's like more of a news broadcast.
It was not stylistically interesting. The first season of the show was bland. It was very rote in the way that it was made. It was very workmanlike. And that worked for it because it's found footage.
It's found footage about cryptids.
Yeah.
Like
it's like a research.
Found footage has no style. You can introduce cinema verite, sort of. I mean, Cloverfield kind of does.
Right.
But this show doesn't have a $20 million budget. This show is not being directed by a director who will go on to make more films
who even cares about this at all. Like, it's just like whatever director they had on hand.
It's okay in a way to just pick up a director and say, can you make the show with us? Because it just needs to be a believable person holding a camera story.
Right.
Which they kind of have gotten in front of now. They're like, well, we can almost explain to you why there's a camera in every episode. And it's like, but now you just have kind of put that before everything else almost.
Yeah. It's shoehorned so hard.
Right. And and again, like Poltergeists, like this is animal, like you said, Jess, this is Animal Planet. Like,
yeah. Like I realize cryptids aren't necessarily animals, like, but they're usually, they're solid beings.
Right.
Of some kind.
Yeah. Right. Kelly Hopkinsville goblins may or may not be cryptids, but like they're cryptid adjacent.
Yes. Yeah. But like now you're just like, fine, ghosts, but then actually, if you want to talk about Poltergeist, then talk about multiple stories of Poltergeist.
Right.
Like, don't make up this one very generic, bland story about Poltergeist and say that this is how it all works all the time.
The other thing that will blow your mind, and Maggie and I talked about it in the last episode, because now we don't have any more of these episodes to talk about. You managed to miss all of them.
Right.
There's no Loch Ness Monster episode in this show.
0. What?
Yeah.
Right?
King Crypt himself. Gone.
Right. There's been Bigfoot, multiple Sasquatch-esque creatures. We're going to have one more this season with Yeti. There's been Mothman. There's been Chupacabra. There's been 2 vampires now. Not a single fucking Loch Ness Monster. Vampire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vaguely.
Mummies?
No.
Undead.
I mean,
we get close to undead.
If you ask Frankenstein monster, I would say zombies, technically, reanimated flesh. But there were several water episodes that were varying degrees of idiotic. I mean, the Oklahoma octopus, I think you saw that one.
Yeah.
Which was fake as hell and didn't exist. But then we saw other water episodes and they were all like things. It's not like things that didn't matter, White River Monster, what was White River Monster, the Oklahoma octopus, the Bear Lake Monster.
There was one we watched that was like set on the ocean.
On the ocean? Oh, yeah. Holy, the Monterey Monster.
Oh, that's right.
New Nessie. But that was New Nessie is just like that fucking basking shark corpse that they found.
It, like we said, it's Animal Planet. Animal Planet's thing is also it being a travel show or travel network.
Yeah.
If you ran out of American cryptids, which clearly you did, why wouldn't you go into...
That's the problem. Like, they didn't run out.
Yeah, fair. But if you feel like you don't want to talk about Loch Ness or whatever, then why not find something cool in like Japan or
they have attempted that. Like, was it Man of Manan? That was a transplant?
The Owl Man of Manan. Yeah. He was an owl creature from England that was like in a church in California for some fucking
followed an old lady there.
I mean, there is an episode that is in the Mongolian desert with the Mongolian death worm.
Yes.
But
that was another one that was transplant. Oh, and of course the Iraqi vampires.
Right. Yeah. The vampires in I guess it was Afghanistan, Iraq. It's in the Middle East somewhere. Yeah. Iran. And they're just like fighting these vampires in a cave.
Well, I mean, A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night is about Iranian vampires.
Yeah, and that one's way better.
Much better. Watch that. Watch that over any episode of the show.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, there have been decent episodes of this show, but when you come to an episode like this, you just have to wonder, like, we could talk about Poltergeist, but the show doesn't even really talk about Poltergeist in like a serious way.
No. They don't even try. Like, they are very clearly just like...
they're telling this to rip off Paranormal Activity. That's what this feels
like. Any type of ghost. And Paranormal Activity isn't even a poltergeist. Like, it's
like a demon, isn't it?
It's a demon. Yeah. It's not even a ghost. Yeah. It ends up being a whole convoluted demon problem. But...
Well, that's what happens when you start giving things backstories unnecessarily.
That's what happens when you get a franchise.
Yeah, well, what people are like, we want you to start explaining things to us. It's like this episode. Like, did we really need them finding all this information about a guy who died in the house like that? What? Like, it's not a poltergeist. Because that's not even a poltergeist. That's like is that like a
haunting?
It's like a type of Amityville horror type.
Right, where it's like
you're doomed to repeat the like same problem every time. But a poltergeist is even less of a ghost because it's pure chaotic energy. Like at that point where it's not even if poltergeists are real, and from what I learned from the movie Poltergeist and other things,
that's fair.
That other research I've done on poltergeists. They're less so like a ghost apparition that you would see and more so just a malevolent spirit.
Like a ball of energy. Yeah. It's like, it's like, it just makes things move. Right? It's like the poltergeist trip you, make you fall, bite you, scratch you, throw plates and shit at you. Like, that's what poltergeists are. Like, even the Poltergeist movie. Yeah. Kidnap your child from the TV and send them to another dimension.
Exactly.
Right.
But they don't kill people. And that's what happens in this episode. Like, oh my God. Like, at the end of the episode, everybody gets murdered.
Yeah, literally, like everyone.
Legit.
I guess kind of just gone off in my brain for a minute, and then all of a sudden I hear, and so and so and so and so and so and so are all dead. And I'm like,
yeah, no, that it's the episode being broken up the way it is. You have the cold open, and then all of a sudden it's like the paranormal investigators are there, and I like that. I think that framing device actually kind of works. Frankly, like, it's smart. You kind of break up the narrative into two pieces, but the characters of these parapsychologists that show up with their like Zach Bagans-esque show.
Right.
They suck.
Yeah, they're terrible. And they're like, they tell the family to leave, and then they start looking around the house. They find, newspapers, and then they're like, well, it's a poltergeist. And then like 2 seconds later, they're just dead.
Yeah. Well, and it's so bizarre because we come from the first season that was a bit more optimistic, where maybe one person died in this altercation, and that's why there was some notice, but it was enough to sweep under the carpet. The second season got a little gore show with it, so we were actually seeing some of the effects of these cryptids. Season 3, it is all off-camera deaths, and it's a lot. It's an interesting escalation, and it doesn't really focus on like the gore like the second season did, which was actually kind of charming in its janky way.
Yeah.
This completely pull it. It's so weird. It's almost like they thought the concept was strong enough to hold itself. And it's like, nobody cares about the characters. We don't care about the characters. So they're dead. Isn't that spooky? And it's like, no.
Yeah.
I'm very confused.
And you know what I also don't understand, Maggie? Why? Where is the Enigma Corporation here?
Dude, they have been MIA for a hot minute now.
2 episodes now.
What is the Enigma Corporation?
Boy, you missed a lot. So
now there's a through line with all of this. There's a corporation that investigates.
Like the X-Files?
Kind of. So in the zombie episode, they're like, okay, we know about this house where these strange things are happening. The Enigma Corporation is going to send some people in to handle it.
Right.
And then in the second episode, in the Kraken episode, is it the same? No, it's not the Kraken. It's the vampires. They're like,
the vampire.
The Enigma Corporation is going to go in and we're going to figure out what's going on. And it's like, these are inept idiots is all they are.
Yeah, they're just brawny beefcake bullets and just.
Yeah, there's like a through line that like they're investigating some of these weird occurrences throughout the show.
Are we supposed to believe they're real?
Well, that's the thing. Like would you contend that the original premise of the show is that they're trying to convince us that these are real tapes?
That the found footage, yes, is real tapes.
Right.
Yes.
And I think at this point they have foregone that.
It seems like it, yeah, because it very much feels like we're all aware of the.
It's going with my assumption of the framing for like the first and second, where we're going through files at this place, and that's what's going on. Is they're just giving like some meat and potatoes to this stuff. Where the third season, they're trying to embody that, and instead of the person filing away stuff, they wanted the action-packed people going out and. But once again, if this is like our supernatural A-team, we're pretty fucked.
Yeah. I mean, that's the problem, right? Like the Enigma Corporation. So the Enigma Corporation is not in this episode, but again, like I guess the stakes of this episode don't matter because it's just one family being harassed by the ghost. These paranormal investigators just drop dead in their house. They're like, all right, we're out of here, selling the house and moving on. Like, what the?
Right.
Yeah, like I guess that's the only conclusion that this story could have is that they move.
Yeah, but to be fair, like the zombie episode was pretty isolated too. There was only one footage where it was like an incident outside of the house, but then after that, it is legit just 2 people that got infected, and it was within the house, and that was it.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess what would be the point of introducing the Enigma Corporation if they're not going to show up every time, because you do have this now built-in framing device for the show that you could just roll out every time and be like the Enigma Corporation, Corporation.
Even if it's like one of the people, they don't have to like have the whole regalia. It could be like a spy mission where they're just trying to keep an eye on this
they
stuff.
Show up to help the other people. Like, who knows? Like if the show is really leaning on following groups of people who are being called in to handle things, which looks like the way the show, at least in the last couple episodes, has gone.
Right. They've tried it.
Then maybe have the Enigma Corporation actually be more present.
Right.
Given that you're doing it anyways. Like, why leave them out?
It would make more sense to have the Enigma Corporation be the ones that go in and investigate
anything from here on out.
Instead of just having random ghost hunters.
Right.
Well, it's like the Kraken episode. I was kind of lightweight hoping that the guy that was really standoffish about like going out there being like, no, I'm really into the treasure, would like then turn around and be like sabotaging the whole entire mission because he was an idiot the whole fucking time, and be part of the Enigma Corporation because they knew the Kraken was out there. But of course, I guess that's just like one level too deep for them. So never mind.
And again, like they set up the episode where they could have just had it be those characters and they would have had to do zero effort.
Even if they said the cameraman was part of the Enigma Corporation, like that's the easiest thing you could have fucking done because you don't even have to see them. Yeah.
Well, and that's what I don't get about this version of the show at this point is do they not care? Like, I don't know if it's weird because like they've been given an opportunity now to do something different with the show and kind of make it into a little bit more of a horror show. Right. And kind of a horror narrative show. And instead of rising to the occasion, it seems like they're just letting it really stagnate.
Yeah. Yep. So was this the last season?
Yeah, this is the last season.
Indeed.
Shocking.
So I mean, I wonder if they knew that it was, they probably knew it was going to be the last season.
50-50.
So maybe they just like, well, we're done. Here's some filler episodes. Bye.
I guess.
Well, and that's
why then incorporate that, like the
right. Well, and that's kind of what we mentioned on the last episode. Was like maybe these were episodes left over from the last season, and they just didn't have the Enigma Corp stuff, and so it's like, well, we made enough for 2 seasons worth of show, but we want to make maybe some episodes didn't work, so we made a couple new ones, or I don't know, I don't know, but it's weird because you introduce something and then you don't stick with it more than 2 episodes in. And I think there's only 2 or 3 more episodes this season, and there's 10 in total. I think there are 2 more that have the Enigma Corporation. So 4 of the 10.
It's so weird.
That's like, don't introduce it this late in the game, and don't not do it. Like, now you have the thing that you should have had this whole time. Do it.
Exactly.
Do it. Like, just do it. Like, it's strange to me.
Bring back the animal facts.
Yeah, well, that too.
The animal facts. Well, when I mean for this, like they brought in the news aspect of it, but it wasn't fun. But it wasn't actually interesting because they're just spouting bullshit. Like, it's not a real.
Well, that's the problem. I mean, when you start talking about these kinds of things, I mean, when they're talking about vampires, they were bringing up like vampire animal facts. It's like, you did this on the last episode.
Yeah.
Right.
You can't do this twice. Vampires of lore. Like, this isn't a lore show, though.
Right.
Like, that's the issue like I've had with this show now since about halfway through the second season is when you start introducing stuff like an alien, you have kind of lost sight of what made this show so exciting. I think for me and for you, Jess, and obviously for you as well, Maggie, like what makes this show exciting is that you could do any cryptid you want.
Absolutely.
Like, yeah.
Anything.
Well, there's even cryptids adjacent to all of this stuff. Like for the Poltergeist, there were definitely cryptids that were like alleged to be spirits because they could just disappear or whatever.
Spring Heel Jack.
Yeah, or in the case of the alien, I'm going to keep bringing him up because it's such a cool urban legend, but the Grinning Man, he could qualify as a cryptid.
Yeah.
And an alien, so 2 birds, 1 stone.
Yeah. And why not, if you're doing a zombie episode, do like a brain parasite or something, or cordyceps. Right, I mean, Last of Us did cordyceps. I know that's like, can't do that now because Last of Us did it, but like there are other things you could have done, like make it a zombies sort of like mind controlled people, but by something. Yeah. I know, it's just I just don't understand why people, when given the opportunity to do something cool, don't rise to the occasion.
Because they're playing it safe and it's popular and we got to get ratings. My God.
I know. And it's so sad too, because like Poltergeist could have, I think I'm now at the point where like, this is maybe the step too far for me, this episode, in terms of the subject material. Like, now we're past cryptids. Like,
that's fair.
Yeah.
Like, this is like spiritual stuff. And the show has not really, like, the zombies, I think before this, zombies were like close, maybe werewolf, but like zombie was close. And now Poltergeist, I think, it's pushed it over the ledge for me, because like, these are not cryptids, this is spirits. Like Enfield, Amityville, the Black Monk of Pontefract. Like, you could have done any of those. Like True. You said, Maggie, you could have done a story of a poltergeist. Not a fucking, like, just a poltergeist we invented. Like,
right.
That works on these rules because it's convenient for us.
Bingo.
And you know what? As far as I'm concerned, if you want to do a fucking poltergeist found footage, you can't. Ghostwatch did it better than anything. Ghostwatch is amazing, and it's found footage. It's like it's the kind of found footage that works, which is like the mockumentary style found footage thing.
Right.
Yes.
Like, that works better.
You're in on the joke. You're not being overly serious to try and make everybody think it's real when they already know it's not.
Right. And if you do want to do, I mean, Ghostwatch, that's the thing. Like, Ghostwatch was trying to make it seem real, but they assumed everybody knew that they were in on the joke. Everybody wasn't, because of, bad timing and whatnot. But yeah. But Paranormal Activity is not trying to be real. It's trying to tell a scary story.
Yeah.
That's the problem with something like this episode. It's like, you're not even scary. You're not even succeeding in being scary.
You don't even go here.
Yeah, you're not scary. Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, be scared of a little kid.
Or poor Sheldon.
Well, and if you want to do that, then why not do the psychic little kid trope?
Yeah, well, that's what I thought it was, right? Like
that, like a telekinesis, like. Well,
that's what it was kind of setting itself up as, right?
Right.
And that would be at least slightly more interesting because.
But then it strays even farther away from the show, I would contend.
True.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, we're at the point now where, like, why are they attempting to stay within the bounds of the show? Just do whatever the hell you want. Frankly, at this point, I was kind of shocked that the third season of the show is still found footage. Like, they're edging dangerously close to just being like, if there had been a fourth season, they may have just been like, eh.
Yeah, it's just short stories. An anthology.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, that's the thing. Like, it is an anthology series on the face of it.
Well, especially now that if they've introduced an actual narrative device like the Enigma Corp, then you've introduced the wraparound.
Right, exactly.
Right, which, like, and that would have been, for me, it would have been like the way you do this show is you have somebody like Jonathan Frakes doing the wraparounds, and he's like the person at the Enigma Corporation, whatever, talking about it. Like, like there you go. Like, give us the money to make that show, because you just take those two kinds of shows and stick them together. You know, we found this and and then we'll be interrupting this broadcast. I mean, literally just take the alien autopsy thing that he did and just do it with something else, and you'll print money. You'll print money, because Unsolved Mysteries printed money, still around on Netflix. Beyond Belief, Fact or Fiction was around for like 4 seasons or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, this show still has, I feel like this show still has some, not cachet, but I feel like this show kind of still needs to be talked about because there's nothing else like this.
True.
Still, there's nothing like this.
Oh, and it's impressive. The first and second seasons, just the sheer amount of childhood trauma that it wrapped around. It's it's fucking cool. And it had its ditzy charm. We may razz on it a lot, but those seasons they had it a feel truly unique to itself. This is borrowing identities from other places, which is a little depressing.
It feels very lazy. At least the early seasons, while yes, it's still a very cheap and quality show. You know, it's an Animal Planet show.
They still tried,
but they tried, and it worked and fit in that world. But now it
being cheap kind of worked in its favor.
100%.
Yeah. Because having showing less in found footage is the key.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, exactly. I mean, that's the truth of the matter with something like this is
there you go.
Less is more.
Less is more. And if you're going to show it, you better nail it. Because if you don't nail it, then it's just going to look silly. And that's this episode. Like at the end of the episode, when it's like, oh my God, I'm being confronted by myself. Or or a version of I don't know what the hell happened at the end. I guess the ghost of the guy killed them at the end, or scared them to death.
That I guess at least the ghost in demon in Paranormal Activity actually like killed people hard. Like these people just dropped down a fright, I guess.
Right. Which again, like even for this show, like that's such a cop out. Like they died of cardiac arrest. They were scared stiff.
Thanks.
Like
I'm like, hey, the little girl escaped from the chupacabra after watching her family get eaten by it, and she's fine.
Yeah. Like there have been.
She's not fine, but
there have been plenty of instances in this show where people have come face to face with actual creatures and survived to tell the tale.
Right.
In the beginning of the second season, that family fought a dead ass vampire.
Legit.
Like, well, it's like a from Dusk Till Dawn vampire too. Like it was pretty
nice.
Like
just
in the desert of New Mexico, a vampire was chilling in their basement.
So good.
As you do. But like this, it's I think for me, I think this episode is like the moment I was watching this episode, I just realized the show lost me. Was when it was like, now it's just trying to be Ghost Adventures. Dude, Ghost Adventures is on at the time too. It's not like Ghost Adventures doesn't exist. Like Zach Bagans is, I think, a year into his show, at least at this point.
By now,
2 years into his show.
Yeah, Ghost Adventures was rolling in deep like at that point, because that's what I was watching in lieu of like anything else.
And guess what Ghost Adventures is on? Travel Channel.
Travel Channel, yeah.
You bet your ass.
Until it's on Discovery Plus now, of course.
Yes.
Got to have somewhere for that puka shell wearing asshole to shell his wares.
Exactly. Grease up your hair, get your pukas.
Yeah. Yeah. I wear these glasses because a ghost made me see double.
Love it. I love it.
Right.
Them torturing their camera guy at any given moment.
Right. You go in there by yourself.
What?
Yeah. Holding a camera, so you're already awkward and can't see it.
Yeah. I like how the guy's like, no, I don't want to. It's like, dude, you're always going to.
You're gonna though.
Sure you don't are you sure you don't want to? You don't are really struggling very hard here.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that, like Maggie said, this episode and this season very much feels like it's borrowing from what's popular in pop culture in this realm at the time. Ghost adventures, paranormal activity, found footage horror movies that aren't really found footage because they're a little bit too well edited and polished.
Right. I mean, the zombie episode, I would contend, ripped off Doom directly. There's like a first person
Doom and Resident Evil.
Yeah. Yeah, there's like a first person segment where they're like, you can see the gun out in front. It's like bang, bang.
No,
yeah.
Legit.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was like, this is Lost Tapes. This is what this show is now. Yeah. Because like the whole point of doing this show was not to talk about the show. It was to talk about the creatures that the show talks about. But this is the first time where
we can't even.
Like,
right. Like, what do you want to Poltergeist?
Yeah, we talked about ghosts on this show 8 million times. Like,
right.
I don't think we've had an episode of the show go by where we don't bring up ghosts in some form or fashion.
Right.
Like, holy shit, this is a paranormal, supernatural, true crime mesh of a show. Like, it's going to come up. But like, you've given us nothing to work with. You don't care because you just said, paranormal activity exists. So let's just do that.
Right.
Which, I mean, like you said, Jess, it was popular at the time. So I can't necessarily fault them for it.
Yeah. I mean, the bottom line for them is they were just trying to get ratings.
Yeah. And people's eyes on the product.
Popular. Yeah. Especially at this point in time, whether or not they knew they were getting canceled or not.
Right.
Yeah.
And I assume they were canceled. Like, they didn't just plan to do just 3 seasons of the show. If they had actually planned all the seasons, it might have actually ended up better.
Shockingly little information out there about this show. I've contemplated kind of reaching out to the people who worked on the show as we kind of near the end of the show to maybe like,
cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, let's put it this way. The people who are involved with the creation of the show have to like and or care about cryptids a small amount, right?
At least. Yeah. At least. Right? I would hope anyway.
Right. Because like, again, I mean, this show is I would hope that the show is being made by people who have a motivation.
Somewhat interest, yeah. The people who at least like who brought the show.
The creative pursuit of at least the challenge of writing for said cryptid, because it seems like they just had a list of cryptids and just let people go haywire with whatever script that they wanted to do.
Yeah.
Which success or fail, regardless, it's an interesting feat of creative writing. So I would think that between that, love of animals, and just trying to dissect and explore this and frame it in a way that makes it seem real, like that was the nucleus of it. And I mean, it's a bummer the way that it turned out. Not that we didn't shit on the show this whole entire time for our own various reasons, because we love it so damn much. But this one, it's hard to comment on just because it's like, this is knockoff X, Y, and Z right now.
Yeah.
The Kraken episode, I can at least say it deviated from that. We were actually talking about the subject pretty decently.
Yeah. Even if the joke was that all the water episodes felt the same. Like this is just this. If you told me if you were like, hey, what show is this from? I don't think Lost Tapes would. I would be like, this is like a failed pilot for some like
ghost adventure show. Yeah.
Or like a like, I don't know what this, like, I don't know. It's so strange because it's just, it doesn't work in the framework of this show in multiple ways.
Right. Now, it reminds me of like when my dad was teaching at the university and people would turn in like projects for like them recording themselves. It was communication majors, so whatever. But like, this is almost like you found a compilation of like college projects for AV department. And it's like, impressive for these students to do in a week, but it's like not so much for a show.
That's in its third season.
It is. It's truly bizarre.
Yeah.
I don't know what to expect ever, which I mean, is fun in a way if it weren't so bland in the execution. Yeah. If they dared to do one thing on a limb, I would be a lot more accepting of this, but they play it so damn safe that it's hard for me to appreciate anything about it. Which, sorry guys, if you do end up watching this.
Well, and again, like that's the thing. Like with a show like this, there is an expectation of what you're going to get, and I think in some ways it's met the expectation with some of the episodes. Oh, there's a Bigfoot, and there's a chupacabra, but then you have stuff like this where it's like I'm not saying you couldn't have done non-cryptid stuff. Frankly, I would have wanted some of that in there just to be like, oh, here's this weird episode about this weird other thing. And that could have been that. This episode could have. But because it's just so generic, so just like full on cribbing from other things that, again, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, Paranormal Activity is really good, but Paranormal Activity is better than this. And Paranormal Activity is more successful than this, because Paranormal Activity was a script that had kicked around for a couple of years because it was a film that was made on a budget of like $250,000. And that's all they were making was that one thing. That's it. So there was no way that it was either going to fail really hard or succeed really hard because everybody threw themselves really hard into it. This was never going to be that. This was just going to be exactly what it was. Kind of a poor facsimile of something that, again, your mileage is going to vary with it, but it is verifiably better than this. And I don't really like that movie that much.
No, I saw it. Like I did the whole when it first came out midnight.
I mean, their freaking advertising campaign was pretty damn effective with everybody going in the eye, black light and shit. Like,
I mean, again, like I know why this is the way that it is because that was so successful because it was
a craze.
That movie cost about $250,000 to make, and it made like $200 million. It's not. Man. Yeah, it's not a surprise why this is the way it is. Again, like the zombie episode. Why were they ripping off Doom? Because Doom was successful. Why were they ripping off Resident Evil? Because those things are successful because people know what they are. They have an easy point of reference. So, yeah. Well, welcome back, Jess. But boy.
Woo! Sorry, the welcome parties kind of like shat the bed, but that's
the welcome wagon's on fire. Just watch it roll on by.
That's all right. My life is on fire. I can join it.
Join the poltergeist. So on the next episode of the Lost Tapes, at least the next time you hear us talking about Lost Tapes, we're going to be talking about Devil Monkey.
Yeah, with my own personalized script.
Which will probably be better than what we get because, again, you haven't, I will say this every time until the end of the show, maybe. You still haven't done Loch Ness. Why are you doing this?
Devil Monkey. Please. Just do Nessie.
Devil Monkey.
Just one time.
All right. Great. What is going on here? I'm so unable to process how they didn't do Loch Ness Monster. It's still mind blowing in a way. If you ask someone what cryptids they know, the answer is always going to be Bigfoot, Loch Ness,
or Loch Ness, or Mothman.
I think it's going to be Bigfoot or Loch Ness,
or Chupacabra,
or Yeti. But that's pretty much just Bigfoot in a lot of ways.
Just in the snow.
Just snowy Bigfoot. It's Snowfoot.
Snowfoot. Yeah. But Poltergeist. Okay. Devil Monkey. All right.
Not the first thing that pops.
No, not the first, second, or third, or even 30th, given this episode's
seriously.
Spot. Yeah. So until then, where can people find you, Jess?
That's a great question.
Am I even here right now?
I guess you can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Writer Just Byard because that's basically where I've been. Hopefully I'll be here. I like TikTok. Don't give me that face.
Oh no, I was just laughing at how just like you're just like whatever. Fucking whatever.
Don't find me. I don't exist.
Right. What about you, Maggie? Where can people find you?
I truly don't exist. You guys can find me at my website, dolinmuseum.com, DOLIN. And shout out to the people who have already reached out to me through my YouTube at Maggie the Odd. I really appreciate that and been hearing good things about this in the podcast. So thank you.
Wow. Really?
I know. Yeah, for cool. Poltergeist. We haven't done Lost Tapes yet, but they watched a couple episodes with all of us in it, and it was very nice.
Oh, nice.
It was very neat. It was for Jitlob. So
that's
Jitlob
right.
lover with this sweet Skullduggery Pleasant icon. Sorry, it took me 4 months to respond to you.
Well, you know what they say. I'm not really used to people interacting, so
right. So I was super jazzed to see that.
When I hear other people like interacting with our audience, it's like,
ooh, we have audience.
Yeah. Well, okay. All right.
Yeah, come on, people. Share your script ideas.
Yeah, scream at us, please. We deserve it.
You want us to do a table read of your Lost Tapes?
Lost Tapes fan scripts.
Yes.
Yes.
Do it.
As for me, cstasher.com is my link tree. Go there for all the things that I work on. Jess and I work on a lot of stuff. Maggie and I have done plenty here. And Maggie, like Maggie said, Culturecast, all kinds of shit. More places than you would ever need to go. Yeah, well, I'm glad you think so. Yeah. At least one of us.
I was a fan before I was on, so here we are.
So as for this show, scarystories.com, Scary Stories WT on all the social media, but just listen to the show. You don't have to like interact. That shit's overrated because like, would you rather us make content or interact with you? Like, it's kind of, I'm not saying it's a zero-sum game here, but like there's only enough time in the day for one or the other. So, interact if you want, but just listen to the show, rate and review on iTunes, all those things. And I guess we'll let our good friend, the former host of Sightings, Mr. Tim White, lead us out.
No mystery is closed to an open mind.